Shane, it's been awesome to get to know you over the last couple years. What we're doing at BMCC really is astounding. As Shane said, my name is Grant Sahag, and I have the pleasure of discussing with you guys all the intersection of community and small business. My hope for the conversation today is to first encourage all of us small business owners to understand that the power that we have in our communities. And the second is for us to all gather together to make sure that we're advocating for the fact that we have this expansive effect of small businesses on the communities that we work in. A little bit about background on myself, a little bit of my perspective. So my background ranges from business building to economic development. I've been a part of the core team of two companies, VC-backed companies that have raised over $50 million to date, have worked with hundreds of small businesses, and work with cities on economic development initiatives. I'm currently the VP of operations of Bank Novo, which is a digital bank for small business. So right on point with what we're trying to accomplish here in the Founders Festival today. And a lot of my perspective has been really shaped over the last 3 years by big data sets that we've analyzed throughout many of the organizations I'm involved in. These data sets range from analyzing tens of thousands of small businesses through the Novo ecosystem and the businesses that we support, all the way down to my team and I's much more deeper dive on 100 small businesses and how they have been financially affected during the COVID pandemic. The biggest truth in my time spending time with small businesses is the following. I believe that small business is the most important institution in our society. I mean, the numbers prove it out. Over 50% of sales in the US come from small business. Around 50% of private workforce employment comes from small business. Small businesses reinvest in their community at a much higher clip than anyone else. And probably unspoken but more important, there's a ton of indirect and intangible economic effects that small businesses have on our communities. When I think about the most important and the most powerful and influential small businesses, there's a common thread, and that's that they're community-led. What I mean by community-led is they're often from the community. Thus, they understand the community that they're serving because they live with them and work with them every day. And lastly, they have a very intentional and expansive focus on how they connect with a broad band of people within stakeholders within a given community. I can look at the town that I live in, Hoboken, New Jersey, a town of 50,000 people, and there is no mistake that small businesses are the reason why the culture exists in Hoboken. They are the driving force. There's a part in uptown Hoboken that has been revitalized and sort of been developed, and it's been because of 4 or 5 major small business stakeholders that have really shaped the vision of what that looks like. And so not only do small businesses impact the macro data that we see, but every day on the micro, we see the placemaking, the culture, the love for your neighbor, the feel that you get when you live somewhere or you experience something on an online network. Small businesses, in my experience, are the driving force, and specifically when they are community-led. And so I think one of the questions that we all have to ask ourselves as small business owners and supporters of small businesses, what are we going to do to feed into that concept of being community-led? The beautiful part of that question is we're all here today. We're here today at a community-led event by a major powerful stakeholder in BMCC. If anyone knows anything about innovation districts, they're this beautiful confluence and this connection of multiple stakeholders from a community, public and private, that band together to drive technology adoption and economic prosperity. And in those innovation districts, there's always a key stakeholder. Sometimes it could be a corporation, sometimes it could be the city, and sometimes it could be a community college. And my argument to you today is that there's no better ecosystem for community-led, vibrant community in an ecosystem for small businesses than the community college. And the reason why is the principals are the closest to understanding what's so vital to the community. And the principals are the students. The principals are the people that are from the community. They understand their community because they live in it every day, and hopefully they're focused and intentional about expanding across a wide stakeholder base and making sure it's not just about building a side business. It's not just about being off on your own in a corner of building a business. It's about making it about broader connection to the community at large. Too often, we all try to access power through important people, the CEOs and the corporations. But we have to realize that we have the power. You have the power. The community has the power. And so that leaves us with a couple things that we have to wrestle with as I close out the conversation here. The first is, how are we going to leverage that power as small business owners? And specifically, as small business owners, how are we going to build great businesses? Because it's not just about building a great community, it is about solving specific problems. So just a couple principles I'll leave with you here today in my closing minute or so. In spending a lot of time in building businesses, the first thing I found to be really important is get to the what quickly. Yes, starting with why is awesome. Understanding what your passions are is awesome. But getting to the what, understanding what product market fit is, and focusing very narrowly on solving a specific customer's problem is the way that you will succeed in the short term. It's something we see at Novo. We are not serving 30 million small businesses. We are serving in the short term 500,000 small businesses focused in one vertical, doing $500,000 to $750,000 in revenue a year. We need to focus on building a great product for that subset before we can expand beyond it. The second is around data. Data is so underutilized. Data is the arbiter of customer demand and your balance sheet. What I mean by that is we all have limited resources, and there's a ton of customer opportunity out there. But a lot of people say that the biggest barrier for small business is lack of access to capital. I would argue that the sister to that is misallocation of capital. And the best way that you can properly allocate your capital is to understand your customer through complex data analysis, segmenting your customers, and making sure that every dollar invested is returned multiple times. And the last thing I'll say is learning through partnerships. Small business is a lonely game. For those that know it and have done it on their own, it is challenging. Your colleagues want to collaborate with you. They want to get to know you. And so when you're moving into a new market, whether it's online or in person, reach out to your competitors, reach out to your colleagues, learn from them, help them solve a problem, and eventually look to collaborate and co-market with them. Small business, in my opinion, is the game. It is a beautiful thing. And my charge to you today is, one, to be community-led in the way that you run your small businesses, but secondly, to ruthlessly prioritize how you're going to solve a problem for a specific subset of your audience. Thank you, Shane, for the time, and I'm looking forward to speaking with the rest of you soon.
Thanks so much, Grant. Thank you for your words. They really do help us to get focused